get our neighbor.
Western Pennsylvania neighborhood in pieces after a deadly house explosion rattled the area. The terrifying incident in Plum captured on a doorbell camera. You can see debris shooting across the whole block and the fireball that demolished several homes on Saturday morning.
We have a whole building completely gone. We have copious amounts of debris.
Greg Renko lives several doors down. As a police officer, you hear an explosion and you run towards it.
Yes.
Renko helped carry his neighbor from the raging fire, who now, he says, is in critical condition.
We're fighting through the debris, the rubble, the fire, trying to get our neighbor out of there, but not a second thought was given.
Authorities concluded their recovery mission at the decimated lots today. 5 people were killed, including 1 child, and nearly 60 firefighters treated by EMS. As the cause of the explosion remains a mystery, gas has been shut off in this neighborhood as a precaution.
At this point, we can share that our system was operating as designed. It's still too soon to estimate when service will be restored.
Fire officials say the explosion leveled 3 homes and damaged at least another dozen in the Pittsburgh suburb. Such a force blowing out windows 4 homes away.
I was sitting right here. My wife.
Families like the Kolonkowskis now left to pick up the pieces and face the utter devastation that claimed the lives of 5 of their friends.
I was with 3 of them the night before, and then not even 12 hours later, we find ourselves in this situation.
Emily joins us tonight live from Plum, Pennsylvania. So, Emily, what's next for residents there?
Well, Tom, residents here are still evaluating the extent of the damage, not just on this unrecognizable block, but debris was literally thrown across the neighborhood. Authorities say it could take months, if not years, to determine the cause of the deadly explosion.
A sad, sad day and a sad time for not just the folks in Plum, but all the folks in the community and in this region.
The Plum Borough community in mourning tonight after a house explosion took the lives of 5 people, including a child. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Erica Stanish. Investigators continue to sift through the rubble after that massive explosion Saturday morning, and we're learning it could take months, if not years, before the investigation is complete. 36 hours after a home exploded in Plum Borough, the aftermath shows absolute devastation. 3 homes were destroyed and at least a dozen more damaged, including burnt cars, broken windows, and now broken hearts.
There have been 5 victims recovered from the scene, 4 of which are adults, and we have 1 adolescent child.
3 others were taken to local hospitals, 2 of which have been released, while 1 other remains in critical condition.
During the course of the response, local EMS treated 57 firefighters on scene for minor issues.
As the community now bands together to help those impacted, investigators are working to determine what caused the home to explode, shooting fire, smoke, and debris hundreds of feet into the air.
At this point, we can share that our system was operating as designed.
People's Gas speaking for the first time Sunday, saying pressure at regulation stations were consistent leading up to the blast.
We immediately began checks in the area for leakage, including smell checks and testing for gas, either underground or in the air.
Now, they say they're working to restore power as the Allegheny County Fire Marshal's office takes over the investigation into a cause.
Now that we are at this phase, the cause and origin investigation of our Fire Marshal's office will begin in earnest. Please understand that this will be a slow and long process as things need to be tested, and there will be lots of forensic testing to be able to prove anything one way or another.
Deadly house explosion in Plum Borough. This morning, family members have confirmed the names of 3 of the 5 people who lost their lives Saturday morning. Casey Klontz and his son Keegan were at the home that actually exploded along Rustic Ridge Drive, along with another neighbor, Kevin Sabunya. Now, 2 others also lost their lives, and another person remains in the hospital, and 2 other people who were injured have now been released. But this morning, as the community rallies around those families who did lose loved ones, there is new information in the investigation.
And Jessica Guay joins us live near the scene with new clues investigators just released. So Jess, what can you tell our viewers?
Well, investigators have discovered that the house where the explosion occurred was having hot water tank issues. The tank was located in the basement of the home. The blast caused so much destruction to this neighborhood. There's still debris scattered in people's yards this morning. Saturday morning took a terrifying turn as the home on Rustic Ridge Drive exploded and the two neighboring homes burnt to the ground. About a dozen more houses were damaged. 4 adults and 1 child lost their lives. 3 people were injured, one of which remains in the hospital. The Allegheny County Fire Marshal's office says it will investigate the water tank issues with any and all other possibilities to figure out what went wrong here. Allegheny County officials say it could take months or even years to figure that out. This incident raises concerns about water tank safety. What are the signs your water heater is about to explode? If the pressure relief valve is leaking or if it's worn out or repeatedly being replaced, if you detect a sulfur rotten egg type smell near the water heater, then turn the gas off immediately. If the tank makes a popping or knocking noise, and lastly, poorly installed heaters, controls, and gas connections can cause explosions. Crews have been using heavy equipment to go through the rubble. We can see some of them up there on the hill. County officials say that there are holds on those 3 properties right now, but the other homes that were damaged in this neighborhood, the owners can now decide whether to start repairs or demolitions.
The second that my mom tried to call my dad, nothing.
Her father was one of the 5 victims in that disaster in Plum.
And she spoke with our Shelley Bortz, and Shelley joins us live with more of what she had to say. Shelley.
Emily Sabunia says her dad, Kevin Sabunia, was always one to lend a hand whenever anyone needed help without ever expecting anything in return. She believes her dad was most likely doing just that when he died.
I couldn't breathe, I couldn't speak, I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything. It felt like my entire world had just collapsed around me.
It was Saturday morning at exactly 11:48, a time Emily Sabunia says she'll never forget. She says she got a frantic call from her mom saying her dad, Kevin Sabunia, was trapped in a basement of a house in the neighborhood and it was on fire. She hopped the first plane from Texas, not knowing what had happened to her dad.
Our neighbor, Casey, we believe that Casey called his wife and just said that they were trapped with Kevin and their son, and that was the end of the phone call. The second that my mom tried to call my dad, nothing.
The details are still unclear 2 days later. Emily says the theory is her dad and the Clonces, dad Casey and 12-year-old son Keegan, were all at one of the 3 homes that morning to possibly fix something. Emily called her dad, who worked at a construction company, the neighborhood go-to guy.
We had guys in our garage every single day asking for tools, asking for help, asking for advice. He was always one to lend a hand, even when he didn't have the time.
Emily recalls the last time she saw her dad. He walked her down the aisle on her wedding day, July 1st. She says she never imagined that would be the last hug she ever got from the man she describes as the best dad anyone could ever have.
There is nothing that I will cherish more than the words of wisdom that he gave us and how much I know that that means to both of us.
Just a man among men, a giant, pillar of the community.
Emily says nothing brings her more joy than hearing the wonderful things people are saying about her dad.